Do you ever wonder, as somebody who is going through a spiritual awakening, awakened, or are on a spiritual path, how the other half live? Or how do people who are not on a spiritual path, or spiritually awakened, or spiritually awakening, live their lives, and how is it so different to us? The one key difference is that when you've not had a profound experience, you are resigned to accept the physicality of your being or your manifest reality as the only reality, and therefore any solution to any suffering, any solution to anything, you only look at the physical reality. And for you to want to believe that there would be something else, you need a very tangible evidence that yes, there is something out there. This very fundamental difference is the reason that so many spiritual teachers or masters or people who've been on this path and have become leaders have resorted to manifesting things out of thin air or being able to perform miracles. And actually, this is something that is available to everyone who has awakened themselves, because the one thing that is common to all of us is that we all know how to bend reality, we all know how to manipulate energy, and we do this every day. The difference between somebody on a spiritual awakening path and somebody not, right, is the knowing of this. Is that one is that we know that we're able to, and that we are constantly changing our reality. And on the other hand, the one who is not awake to this thinks that because I went to school, I got my grades, I did this, and so I got a job, and then this is what happens, and then I have 5 children or a husband or a wife and all of these things. And if I've got a cold, it's because I exposed myself to different viruses. So everything that we experience just on a day-to-day basis, right? Someone said this, and so I felt this. Yeah, so everything for a person who's not spiritually awake is whatever we perceive with our 5 senses is all that there is in this world. And everything that we cannot perceive with these 5 senses does not exist, is fantasy. And so people like that will probably poo-poo the idea that there is something real out there or in here, or that it is how they are thinking that is creating their reality, and that thoughts are actually non-existent. In fact, they hold no weight as such, because when we are spiritually awake, the one thing we know is I'm not this body, right? The one thing that we know is there's so much to me than my 5 senses can perceive. There's so much in here, not there's so much out there that I still haven't experienced, but there's so much in here that I still haven't fathomed, right? So that is very, very different to when we look at our physical reality as somebody who has not had the taste of this elixir of where life begins, right? Dare to imagine, have that self-inquiry and ask yourself, where do I come from, right? And how am I able to shift my moods? How am I able to think something and it happens? It's when we become aware that we start to notice the synchronicities, when we start to self-inquire, or even just that we want to self-improve, right? We start to witness these daily, what we call miracles, when in fact it is not a miracle, right? A miracle, as a person who's not awakened, is to assign a force outside of ourselves with that power to manifest something for us, right? Whereas when you are spiritually awake, or you're awakening, or you're awakened, you're quite aware that you are the miracle and you are the one. You are the performing artist. You are the director. So nothing is a miracle, and everything that is happening in our lives, we have invited everything to happen. It is such a hard pill to swallow when we are not awake, because we don't want to believe that we could possibly create so many things that couldn't have been, because they made us suffer, they made us cry, right? And one of the first stages of an awakening process is that you will see merit in what you had gone through, what you had called suffering, and you'll see. And then the next stage would be for you to realize that, oh, it's me who called upon myself to do all these things. It's I who called upon this experience to myself so that X, Y, and Z could happen, right? So these would be the next steps. So back to the person who is not awakened, right? As somebody who's awakening or somebody who's awakened, it is not our job to sell an awakening to somebody, or to sort of say, well, here are the benefits of an awakening, so why don't you take this one as well? No, this is a process that must be self-initiated. We cannot interfere with the processes of somebody else, because everybody has their own will, and it is up to each one of us, right? If we are saying that I've drawn up my contracts, I have created my reality, then it is for everybody else to equally create their own reality in whichever way they want to, depending on the experiences that they have signed up for this time around, or across on this plane at this point in space. So it doesn't matter where we are, whether we are awakened, awakening, or non-awakened, because we are, simply put, on a very long, unending continuum of consciousness. A continuum of consciousness that just carries on and on and on and on, because there really is no end to an awakening or being awakened. That's for another post, another time, the various stages of the awakened state, not the awakening or not the non-awakening, but the various stages of the awakened state. Stay tuned. Lots of love. Take care.